Hi Notioneers. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can take unformatted content from an email and store it in multiple related databases in Notion using a custom OpenAI GPT. So as well as being a Notion creator, I'm also a consultant, and I've been working on a project recently for a trucking company. They receive requests for quotes from customers in emails with details of items that they want to ship. And up until now, the company has just been keeping track of everything using spreadsheets, a pen and paper. And obviously that means lots of duplicated data entry, and it's quite hard to keep track of historic activity, so past shipments that they've taken care of. So I'm setting up a system for them in Notion. And this is basically the sort of skeleton of the system right here. So we've got our quotes database where we're obviously storing details of quotes that they're sending to customers once the customer asks them if they can take on a shipment. We've got the details of the customers themselves, and then we've got a trips database and an items database. And this is a little bit more complicated than you might expect, maybe. This is all of the information that they need just to manage the pickup of the items before they're dropped off somewhere where they'll be stored until they can be shipped to the final destination. Then they need to create a load consisting of several customers' items and arrange for a driver to transport that load to the destination. And that's why we've got these separate databases for things like items, so we can list as many of those as we need to for each of the quotes. And we've got this separate trips database so that we can record the pickup and drop off of each item and have sort of complete flexibility in terms of how we record those details and how many sort of instances of trips and items we need to keep track of whilst we're managing every shipment. So there's two main problems to tackle here. First of all, we need to extract the content from an unstructured email. And secondly, the structure of the system in Notion is relatively complex. We want to speed up the process of extracting the content and storing it in Notion as much as possible, especially as some of the members of the team aren't very familiar with Notion or just software in general, basically. And so we need to keep the process as straightforward as possible. So in order to do that, I've created a custom OpenAI GPT, and all the user has to do is copy and paste the email into ChatGPT, and the GPT will do all of the work to send the content to Notion. And just to mention, in order to keep our data private, obviously we don't want this information to appear in future users' conversations. We have switched off this setting so that OpenAI doesn't train its models based on the content that we submit in these conversations. And so this is my GPT. It's really very simple. I don't even need to give it custom instructions here, which would sort of be the prompts that tell it how it should behave in certain situations. Although I might do that later in order to improve its reliability. The slightly complex part of the GPT's configuration is this action. And to show you this in a slightly bigger window, this is the JSON content that I've set in the schema. So this is basically what we use to tell the GPT what data we want to extract and what it should do with the data when we submit it in our conversations. And so basically we've got this components section here where we're outlining what data it should collect. So we've got the shipment itself, we've got some details about the shipment, so it's just its name at the moment. Then we've got the pickup location, so where the items will be picked up from, and we're recording the name, when it will be picked up, the address, city, and state. We've got the same details for the drop-off locations, and then we've got this pieces object, which is where we detail which sort of attributes of the various items that will be picked up should be captured. So we've got name, weight, dimensions, width, height, and that's basically it there. And then lastly, we've got the customer's details, which at the moment is just a very simple name and email address. So obviously reasonably complicated to create that sort of schema. But of course, OpenAI does include a custom GPT that you can use, which will help you to create the schema in the beginning. And once we've done that and we've sort of told it what data we want to capture, we just add our action here. So this is going to send the data to this endpoint in my API to create a new shipment, and it's going to use the schema that we've got just here for that. So AI generally isn't very good at reliably producing data in a specific format, but by using schemas like this, we can actually make it very reliable. So this GPT is going to send our data to the API, And you could send it to an automation tool like Make or Zapier instead. But once you know how to code, creating simple code like this is fairly simple, especially when you have AI to help you write that code. So the data that will actually be sent to our API is going to look a little bit like this, where we have the details of the shipment, the customer, the pickup locations, the drop-off locations, and pieces. And obviously we've set this up so that we can handle lists of pickup locations, drop-off locations, and items, just in case the customer wants to arrange more than one shipment in one email. And basically all this code is doing is sort of receiving the details of the request. So receiving the details of the shipment. We are responding to the AI and sort of telling it if it's missing key details, although it really shouldn't. And then basically we're creating the various different properties for the various different pages as we go through this process. So first of all, we're creating the details of the shipment and adding that to our shipments database. Then we're creating the details of the trips. So we're going to add the pickup location and the drop-off location, and we're going to be storing these details when we do that. And then we're going to be processing the pieces, so the items from the shipment, and recording these details about those. And then lastly, we're adding the details of our customer to the contacts database. We're actually searching for the customer in our database and then linking the pages to the customer if they already have an entry, or if they don't have an entry, then we're creating a new entry for them as well. And obviously all of those entries are being linked together so that we can see which items belong to which shipments, where they're being picked up from, where they're being dropped off, and which customer is associated with the shipment as well. So if we go back to our GPT, we can test this out. And basically, this is just going to sort of prompt it automatically to test out this action. So once we confirm that, if we go back to Notion, then we should see the data from that new shipment start to filter into our database right now. And you can basically see all of the details that are filtered in here. Unfortunately, it generated a slightly different email address for John Doe this time, so it didn't match up the John Doe that we already had in the database with the one that it created for this new shipment here. But basically, these are the new entries that it's created. So we've got the details of the trips to pick up and drop off our items. And then we've got these items here, which it has created for us, which are obviously the items for this particular shipment. So now that we've confirmed that that works, let's see if we can paste an email into the chat and see if it will process that as well. And this is basically the email. I've generated this using AI as well, so it's fairly well written and fairly nicely formatted. Yeah. It's obviously, there's enough content in there for the AI to have to do some work in order to extract the details. So if we click confirm there, then again, we're going to send those details to our API, and it's already starting to enter the details that we submitted. So we've got the shipment being added there, we've got the items and the trips, and then we've got the new customers details being created in this database as well. If we scroll down the page, we've got the central warehouse, the final delivery point for that shipment, and then also the new parcel entry that's just been created there too. So it really is that simple to just submit details of a request and feed them straight into our Notion database. So that's basically all you need to do in order to use the GPT. And obviously we can make this system look a lot nicer and sort of create different views and things to make it more easy to use. But this is just a skeleton of the system so that you can see kind of what information we're storing here. And then if I want to develop the GPT further, I can add additional actions to it as well. So if I want to add an update shipment action, or I want to be able to view all of my upcoming shipments or past shipments, then of course we can create actions to do that as well, until basically you're able to sort of manage all of the work that's involved in dealing with shipments and sort of receiving them from customer emails in ChatGPT before heading into Notion to start to arrange the pickup of the shipments and find drivers and things to actually send the shipments to their final destination. So I hope that's given you some sense of what's possible here. Just let me know if you have any questions at all in the comments, and stick around because I'm sure I'll be creating lots more AI and automation and just general Notion content on this channel very soon.